from the Digital Media Center on the campus of Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. This is Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English language learners. Here's your host for Ramping Up Your English, John Letts.
Welcome to Ramping Up Your English. Ramping Up Your English is for English language learners from all language backgrounds who have already begun the process of learning English as their second language. It's a program for people of all ages. If you're seeking greater English proficiency, this program is designed to help you reach that goal. Ramping Up Your English is a support program for English learners who have already passed the beginning stages of learning English. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher English proficiency. We use English to teach English. The theme of our first unit is trains and railroads. This is episode 15, segment 1. In episode 14, we left Seattle heading south on Amtrak's Coast Starlight. Our journey took us to Oregon's biggest city, Portland. This clock tower gives Portland's Union Station a distinct appearance. Built in 1896, the station once served the Union Pacific, the Great Northern, the Burlington Northern, and Southern Pacific Railroads. Today it serves Amtrak for the Empire Builder, the Cascades, and the Coast Starlight, which we can see in the station. We'll learn more about this most scenic of trains, but first, let's take a ride from Eugene for part 2 of our southbound journey. Eugene's Amtrak station is a comfortable place to await the Coast Starlight. Aboard the train, we pass unremarkable neighborhoods as the train heads east to cross the Cascade Mountains. Eugene and sister city Springfield make up the third most populous metro area in Oregon. Eugene was once known as the lumber capital of the U.S. Today its fame comes from fast runners and the shoes they wear. Eugene is home of the Oregon Ducks. It's an active community made possible by lots of green spaces, including this trail-laced park along the Willamette River. Two important rivers come together at Eugene. The Mackenzie River, a fast-moving wild river popular with rafters, and the Willamette River. Here, the water from the Mackenzie becomes part of the Willamette, a river that grows as it winds its way northward to the Columbia.
Oh, we're getting closer and closer to the river. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's pretty darn full.
There's a U of O stadium.
Willamette River. Running high. Any higher would be in a boat.
All right, folks, I'm ready now. 5:15. Those of you holding up 5:15 dinner reservation, please make your way to the dining car. As always, step just inside the vestibule doors and allow a uniformed staff member to seat you, please. 5:15 dinner reservation. Also, folks, on that note, you now notice that I'm a little bit behind, so please wait for me to call your time. Don't proceed to the dining car until your time is called. If I can make up some time, I'll try and make up some time and get us back on track. If not, we'll just keep on rolling throughout the night. Thank you. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to buy one of those.
The Oregon countryside.
I'm not going far. I'm not going far.
We cross the Willamette River here, and we're soon seeing the Lookout Point Reservoir. The scenery was enchanting, but we were also losing daylight. Soon, darkness would fall.
Hey, we're looking at the ships.
Those ships are surplus warcraft, mostly from World War II. They've been moored here since the end of the war, just in case we need them again. They're called the Mothball Fleet. They look a little bit ghostly sitting out there in the gray water. We're past Sacramento. After a brief stop in Martinez, we continue southbound, watching the urban landscape from the parlor car.
This is the parlor car.
It's another thing. You have to pack it in it to get it to the interior. So that would account for it.
And this is Liz. This is the foot of the Bay Bridge going into San Francisco.
So you think about it. Yeah. I mean, if you just think about it.
This must be where they take the containers off the ships and put them on railroad cars. And look at all those big old cranes. I bet that's what they do with those. Look at all the containers.
Quite a few decades ago. I wish you wouldn't do that.
This is Jack London Square, and it's really been developed a lot over the years. Nice place to come to if you can get through the neighborhoods to get here.
Sea salt, anyone? This is where Morton gets its salt from the seawater. You can see the white product being piled up here after settling out in these evaporation ponds. The color is from an algae that apparently likes very salty water. The Spanish word for salt is sal, and we rolled through the Salinas Valley, America's salad bowl. A lot of produce is grown here. Writer John Steinbeck grew up in this agricultural area.
This is a trail that goes right along the railroad tracks.
Not far from Salinas, we skirt the edge of Elkhorn Slough, an estuary set aside for wildlife. We visited the slough in 2009, seeing sea otters, seals, sea lions, and many other animals. Robles is the Spanish word for oak trees. As we ease through Paso Robles, the pass, not the town, enjoy the quiet, accented with train whistles. We'll see you again in part 3.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your
Eugene's
English.
Amtrak
We'll learn
station
about
is
the
a comfortable
history of
place.
the Coast Starlight when we return. This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. After American Railroad's golden age, thousands of miles of track were abandoned. Rather than see these valuable transportation corridors disappear, an organization called Railstotrails turns them into trails for bicycling, hiking, and sometimes horseback riding. Members get to see good work that's being done by enjoying the organization's magazine. Each issue features rail trails throughout the country, as well as maps that can help them enjoy them. There are always interesting features like this one on railroad trestles. If you want to receive the magazine, you must become a member. I bought my first copy from a group that supports libraries, but I soon became a member myself to support their important work. Millions of people are enjoying healthy lives by getting outside and using these trails. And if you need something to feel good about, you can always enjoy a Railstotrails magazine. You can contact Railstotrails at railstotrails.org. You may never get to drive a train, but you can enjoy hiking and biking where the trains used to pass. For Ramping Up Your English, I'm John Letts. Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English learners. You can watch and download this program and others by visiting archive.org. YouTube.com/details/Rogue TV. Choose Ramping Up Your English from the sidebar or choose my name, John Letts. You can see this program on Channel 15 in Ashland and Channel 182 on Charter Cable. That's where you can watch it at 8 o'clock on Monday mornings and 7 o'clock on Thursday evenings. This is Episode 15, Segment 2. The name Coast Starlight comes from two train names from the days when Southern Pacific Railroad dominated California and much of Oregon. The Shasta Daylight passenger train took passengers from Portland, Oregon to San Francisco, California each day, treating passengers to fantastic views of Mount Shasta and the Shasta and Sacramento rivers. The Coast Daylight was a train that ran on Southern Pacific's tracks right along the coast of California between San Francisco and Los Angeles. By the early 1960s, passenger rail service was dying, and it was a dying and expensive service for all American railroads. Like many railroads of that time, Southern Pacific cut out many of its passenger trains, and these trains were saved only because of the birth of Amtrak. Amtrak has been around for over 40 years now, and this book, Amtrak, An American Story, honors Amtrak and the people who worked hard to keep it going. When Amtrak celebrated its 40th birthday, this book was published to commemorate Amtrak and to honor its history. Good times and bad times are all related here with profiles of Amtrak workers and the words of some of those who kept Amtrak on track. So here are some of the images from that book, Amtrak, An American Story. You can see the Amtrak train going through the Southwest. You can see in the next image, Amtrak, this is kind of in the northeast quarter where they use electrical power directly from the lines above. In the next image that is from here, in the early days of Amtrak, they used the rolling stock from the railroads they took over. So here we see 2 or 3 different railroad paint schemes represented in this Amtrak train leaving a switching yard. And now we see in the next, a lot of the pictures in there and the stories are from people from behind the scenes. And here you see a dispatcher working through computers to keep those trains on time and safe. And from the next image, we see a station that I got to visit. Now, this was the president of Amtrak at the time, and the station behind him is Union Station in Washington, D.C. The next image shows just that station, and I still remember when they fixed up that station, it had gone to seed, you could say, as we say in English. It had really gone downhill in terms of maintenance, and then they got it really nice today. It's a very nice place to be. In the next image, we see the kind of service that you see on Amtrak, and this is, of course, in the dining car. And then in the next image, we see paint schemes from the various times of the railroad, or various eras. We see the second era, the third era, and the fourth era, which is the one on the left of the screen. And in this image, we see a bunch of these routes. Now, these train names were established, like the Cardinal. You see the red bird on there? The Cardinal. These are names that already existed from previous railroads which they took over. If you look at the Cardinal, for example, you see the Sunset Limited right next to it. In previous programs, we've done a whole lot on the Sunset Limited. And now we see this image, which is the people that keep you comfortable. Those are the train, the car attendants, and they make all the difference in the quality of the type of experience you have taking the Amtrak train. I learned a lot from this book, and I look forward to the next 40 years of Amtrak's great service to rail passengers. Amtrak, An American Story, is a great way to learn about this passenger rail service in the United States, honoring the people who have kept the trains on track and revealing the battles they've had to fight to give us the fantastic rail experiences we enjoy today. I highly recommend you spend some time with this book. And that's it for Segment 2. We'll be back with Segment 3 right after this. This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. If you want to go back in time to the very birth of trains and railroads, you want to read the book The History of Railways by Colin Heinsohn from Scholastic Books. The book's format reminds me of eyewitness books with small illustrations and ample text. English learners will find that the text is very challenging and there's a lot of text on each page. The illustrations are clear, providing the context to help readers decipher the text. Historical photos depict important events like the Golden Spike ceremony that joined the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific Railroads as America's first intercontinental railroad. There's a great amount of information in the history of railways. Readers will stretch their English reading skills, but you'll also be rewarded by a deeper knowledge of trains and railroads. Meanwhile, you'll be ramping up your English proficiency, especially in reading. For Ramping Up Your English, I'm John Letts. Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, a support program for English learners who want to increase their level of English proficiency. If that's you, you're in the right place. This is episode 15, segment 3. This is a display model of an Amtrak locomotive. It's the same size as an N-gauge model train, but this one is not designed to run on model tracks. In fact, there's a warning against doing so, as this would short out the electrical power that powers the model trains. This episode is all about Amtrak and the train that many feel is the most scenic on their system, the Coast Starlight. Let's ride along the final part of this southbound journey into Los Angeles. I'll have a few comments about Amtrak when we've reached LA's Union Station.
We finished part 2 with the oak woodlands of coastal California. Then we saw a change.
Train coming out of the tunnel. Now we're out of the tunnel. Oh my gosh, there's the front of the train. And check out this view.
We entered one of my favorite parts of the trip, the Cuesta Pass country, leading to San Luis Obispo.
Talk about a sweeping view.
Yeah, they know it.
The mood was jovial as we went through another tunnel. No kidding, these hills rival the ocean for their beauty, and the raindrops on the window only enhances this masterpiece of nature. The quiet of our roomette seemed appropriate for this soft, verdant view. We'd soon be on this trestle, easing our way into San Luis Obispo. I don't think anyone was in a hurry to arrive. I felt sorry for those getting off here, because there was a lot more great scenery to come. This is where we get new engineers and conductors. This crew will take us all the way to Los Angeles. From San Luis Obispo, it's only about an hour to Vandenberg Air Force Base, where launch pads await military satellites to send into space. This is one of the most awesome sections of the trip. Since there's no public road, there's often nothing between our tracks and the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, there's not much they can do. The engineered stuff to watch
We took some time out from sightseeing for a quick meal. When that meal was over, we went to the parlor car, and when we were there...
Wow.
They usually don't do that when they're migrating.
There's a freight train between us and these frolicking gray whales.
Oh man, I did get that. I got that at last.
You watch, they're going to get tired and disappear as soon as the train.
Finally, we cleared the freight train, and the view was in our face.
Oh man.
This was my first time seeing a whale breach. Want to see it again?
Oh man.
Even the train crew, who travel this route all the time, said they'd never seen anything quite like this.
Boy, Liz, am I glad I changed my tape.
Oh, did you see his
What a perfect ending for this series on the southbound Coast Starlight. Thanks for coming aboard.
Maybe you should put it on record instead.
Can't see that on there.
Oh.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. I bet you never thought of going whale watching on a train. Well, such moments can't be guaranteed, but it seems that something special always happens when I'm aboard the Coast Starlight. If you want to see those whales again, remember, you can watch this episode and others at my website, letscreate.org. You can also access video on demand and download all Ramping Up Your English episodes at archive.org/details/RogueTV. Our show appears on Channel 15 of the Ashland Home Network and Channel 182 on Charter Cable. That's where you can watch Ramping Up Your English at 8 o'clock a.m. on Mondays and 7:30 p.m. on Thursdays. The birth of Amtrak in 1971 saved passenger rail service in the United States. A continued existence of Amtrak allows people like you and me to travel by rail and truly see the scenic treasures of our country. Amtrak's continued existence is our only hope of having an integrated rail system throughout the United States. Amtrak is the passenger rail system we have. Now, some compare it to an ideal passenger rail system and complain that it comes up short. Well, while there's room for improvement, I hope people have the wisdom to continue our commitment to investing in Amtrak. There are special interests that seek to destroy Amtrak. Overt attempts to kill our passenger rail system have failed, but now they have sneakier ways being used. One of them is to discontinue food service on long-distance trains. Now, this is veiled as requiring Amtrak to make a profit on its meals. Consequently, the quality of the food in the dining car has gone down recently. The lawmakers know that long-distance trains throughout the world lose money on meals, but more people travel long distance by train when good meals are provided. Those who demand profit on the train meals know that doing so will result in fewer people traveling long distance on Amtrak. And if they can eliminate the long-distance trains, they can end the system of passenger trains that reflect our pride in America. If you follow the money, you'll see that politicians who receive support from certain billionaires are the ones working to end Amtrak as a national passenger rail system. That's something to remember when getting to know your congressmen and senators who represent you. If you ever want to send your congressman a letter, you'll be happy to hear that we have a lesson on writing persuasive letters coming up on future episodes of Ramping Up Your English. And that's all for segment 3 of episode 15 of Ramping Up Your English. I want to thank my crew who volunteer their time and talents to make this program possible, my announcer Bob Ayers, and I want to thank you, our viewers. See you next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/RogueTV. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.